Okay, continuing on in CSS, we talked about how to change font family. Notice that they say fonts is a comma separated list, also known as a font stack. Specific font, identified name, and based on the font definition file stored in a user's computer, accessible on the web. Kind of like that courier I chose, right? So that's where you're being specific. A generic font describes the general appearance of characters and text, but does not specify any particular font definition file. Sports font groups serif, if I'm saying it right, sans serif, monospace, cursive, and fantasy. We indicated not everybody may have a courier, right? So if you do the comma, you got like a font stack where it'll do this one, it done that one, the next one, so forth. Or if it doesn't have any of those, you can just generally say, okay, any serif font. Here's one they say are web safe font stacks. Not sure if that's true or not. Would you say every device that can access a web page would have Comic Sans MS? I don't know. I haven't gone to every browser on every particular device, right? Now here you got a web font. This is a definition font that's applied to the browser and external file because web-safe fonts limit the number of font choices. To access and load a web font, add the @font-face foo rule to the style sheet. And then once you put that in there, it's included in the font stack. What's the benefit, do you think, of using this technique, using a web font? In theory, it'll look the same on everybody's computer, right? Because it downloads the font. You think every browser that everybody's ever came up with supports all the standards that W3Cs? No. So yeah, just no. Yeah, there's, I could sit there, not that I could do it in the afternoon, but I could, over the next month, I could design my own browser to run on some kind of device. And it will not support all of W3C. So I think it's Visual Basic, C Sharp, all Visual Studio. You can embed a web browser right within your app. So if you're running a C Sharp program, you can have the web browser right there. Does it have all the full features of a web browser? I'm guessing not. I'm just guessing, but in theory, this is how you can do that. And I'm gonna read all that to you. It's important just that it's out there. So if you did have to use it at some point as a computer science, you go out there and you investigate it. I was talking about the font size. That's probably kind of a useful one too. Makes it pretty small, doesn't it? I can't see that. That's curious. Looks like I changed two of them, right? Now I specified font size here, but on that one that I individually set this on, do I say anything about font size? No. So it took what my definition was up above and applied that to even this one. So if I didn't want it to override this, then I would need to Or one of the things I could do is I could put font size on this. And so you got that. Now realize standard HTML, I don't think has all those features. I don't think you can set the font size on this. It got over there. This did not have any effect, did it? That's what the style sheets opened up. Is it opened up a lot more things you can do with an individual HTML tag. So as a consequence, by them doing that, what do you think happened to all the web pages? They look better. You can make them look better because you have more power, more control. But you're right, in some cases, maybe they didn't display correctly then. More power, more control, then maybe means that it won't look right in every browser. That might be. What would you think about if you're going shopping somewhere and you did come up with a web page that was designed and you weren't quite sure how to zoom your screen? You know, I just do a control when I'm on Kali and control my mouse wheel, make it smaller, bigger to sort of fit on there. What if I didn't have that knowledge and I had to sit there and scroll back and forth? Would I do business with that company? No. So maybe it's better that they wouldn't use whatever they're doing, you know, to cause that to become big like that on certain monitors, certain resolutions, I should say. Um, just talking about different ways you can set fonts. They really go into a lot of CSS here, and I went into that last time I taught this class, and it was really too much. I'd rather us get to the JavaScript quicker, so I may alter the schedule where I don't go into this. You know, here's how you indent your text. Here's the line height. If you're really into web design, I'm not sure if anybody said that they're going to be a webmaster. No. But if you're really into that, you could sit there and read all that. From a programmer standpoint, you should just have a general knowledge of CSS. You know, not know exactly what font weight does. So much vertical alignment. Because what you're gonna find is that oftentimes you use an editor for this anyway. Oh, here's what I was talking about. Remember how like your LI just put like a dot or put numbers? See how there's a list style type? Or if you want it to be Roman numerals, then you could do that. That's probably worth looking at. Not that you actually use it, but up here at the top, I'm going to define it. Actually, I'll define it in my, because I haven't been working very much with my CSS. I'll define it over here. Now, I don't know the answer to this myself because I'm not a CSS guru. But where do you think I'm going to apply that to change those to this right here? Yeah, I'm guessing that's what I'd change it to. But let's see. Maybe it's LI. I don't know. Let's try UL and list style type colon and upper Roman. upper dash Roman. If that doesn't work, then we'll apply it to LI. That would be the other option where I think it would be. So I go back to my web page now. I need to come up with a list somewhere. UL/UL. First item. Second item. Save that. It was UL. You're right. But again, if you want to change that different things, you can. They even have a way you can put your own image in there. Where you put the URL, and then you put a graphic in there. I could have the Pink Panther as my, let's see how to do it. URL and then parentheses and your okay. So if I want the Pink Panther as my image, I change this to URL pink.png. Well, that didn't work. What did I do wrong? No quotes? That doesn't seem right. But obviously mine's wrong. No, still got something wrong. List. Oh, image. Good catch. Style needs to be the style image. Maybe the limitations on what the image you can use. That's where you're narrowing it down to only part of your web page.
Does it help narrow down your web page?
Right. Like you can define an article. I skipped over that, but you can define like this section here is an article, and so it applies just to that section. So the important part is the UL there. I sure don't see anything wrong. It is a PNG. Of course, the question is if I got the right file name. I think I do. Pink.png. Yeah. I don't know about that. Could be it's too big. See how they're using run icon.png here. It's transparent. It shouldn't matter. Um, Now I'm confused. When I brought that image in originally, didn't it? Oh, it came in real big because I had it zoomed. Never mind. So it is a small image. I'm sorry, what was the question? Well, I don't know how to do that, to be honest. If you can. This just did not work, did it, with the quotes? Oh, well. I don't want to waste time on that. I'm sure there's a way to do it because they're doing it right here, aren't they? That just looks too big. Hmm. I will focus on that. List marker position. I'll let you read that if you're real curious. You see how here, they're all set in? Where here, this first one is set in, and then the rest of these are lined up with the marker. So again, margins, padding. Let's tell image colon. It's going to bother me why that's not working. One more attempt. I haven't lost any video recording, so I'm happy now. I lost 4.5 hours last week of video recording because it bombed off.
Yeah.
Okay, so check mark there. It's a new image. Don't know if it needs to be transparent. Save as. And check PNG. Check the PNG. Now it's ignoring it. How strange. Well, if I saved in the right place, let's try that again. Pictures. I should be saving in the web page. Check.png. Okay, check PNG. Okay, that's what it should do. So obviously I got the images. So why wasn't the Pink Panther working? Oh, not because it's transparent, but it was working. But since the Pink Panther had a big square around it, I was seeing just the right hand side. So yeah, now it makes sense. Okay, that would have bothered me all day. Okay, like I say, we're not going to go into this kind of depth on it. That's all that tutorial. Now let me go over to the other PowerPoint. This is one where there'll be a test off this, and then just one test over chapter 3, and then there'll be those four projects, as you call them, programming. In chapter 3, for Invitation to Computer Science, they talk about the efficiency of algorithms, and I'm going to jump around a little bit here. This is an example of an algorithm. Get values for number in T1 through Tn, N1 to Nn. Set the value of I to 1, set the value of found to no. While found is equal to no and I is less than or equal to n, do steps 4 through 7. So you kind of generically, in your own words, are spelling out how to solve a problem. How would you find the average? Yeah. So add up all the numbers. Well, I need to then get the numbers, don't I? So get the values for, and then that kind of refers to like variables, you might call them. So maybe if uppercase N represent my numbers, I would say N1 through NN. So if I wanted to get 5 numbers, I'd get N1, N2, N3, N4, and N5. So that's kind of generically talk about it. Now, how do we get values? Well, if I come up to you in the classroom, I'd say, okay, give me 5 numbers. I'm asking you for the numbers, aren't I? From a programming standpoint, we'd use different features. Some of you have seen other programming languages where you'll bring that in. So you have different lines of code that retrieve those numbers. Now we need to sum them, don't we? So maybe I want to set sum is equal to 0. And try to put it in their words. Set the value of sum to 0. If I could spell. Delete. Say you gave me two numbers since I can't remember. Say two numbers. 10 and 34. So I hit the first number, and I don't have any other numbers, do I? So it's kind of like my brain has set aside a data cell that has 0 in there. I hear 10, so I think, okay, my first number is 10, so 0 plus 10 is 10. Then you tell me the next number, and I add that to the current number, and that the what? 0 is like initially what you have to begin with.
Okay, so
Kind of like you have your wallet. You don't have any money in it; it's empty, so there's $0 in it.
yeah.
I gave you $5, so you take that initially nothing that's in there, which is 0, plus 5. You now have $5 in your wallet, and then then another one. So that's a principle of why you have to set it equal to 0.
Okay.
And I know some of you have never seen programming, so this whole idea of initializing it to 0 seems to maybe kind of alien.
Mostly it's zeros and ones anyway, so I can see where you get all that.
Yeah. Now we're going to loop from 1 to n, and that's what this is. And again, if you've never seen a while loop, it doesn't make any sense. But we need to set the value of I to 1. Why do we set it equal to 1? Because we're starting at our first number. So then, while I is less than or equal to n, and it has lots of different things here of what you can set it equal to. Just very generically, though, I could say sum or add n I to sum. And then probably my last one would be to print out the value of sum. Or actually, sum, we're doing average, aren't we? So then I need to calculate the average. So set the value of average to sum divided by I. So that would be like you say, the numbers added together, divide by how many you have. Except for it's not I, what is it? Lowercase n, yeah. So my algorithm would not have worked there because, yeah, I mean, in theory, with this while loop here, we keep increasing I by 1. I didn't put that here, but we keep increasing I by 1. But it still might not work because, well, it probably might. Oh well. It depends. Like you can, like you could do this, and you set this to 0 initially. And I'm not sure when it increments it. If it increments it after it runs, then it could be you need to set this equal to 1. But yeah, you're right. There's some way you got to specify that you're going to increase it. And then you print out your result. So print out the value of average. So if you were implementing this algorithm, now you'd never write an algorithm like this for average. I've never seen one for average. It's more for the real complex code where you see this. It's just like if you're trying to do a binary sort and trying to figure out how to do it, you'll find algorithms out there for the binary sort because it's a more complex algorithm. Then after you get that, you then take that I know some of you have never seen programming, so don't get overly caught up on this. What?
I know what that is.
Yeah.
Most use it for emulations, I know what it is.
hmm Yeah, the Visual Studio is Microsoft's wonderful package for programming Visual Basic, C Sharp. You can do C in it. You can do C++. No,
Most computers come with it. I don't know.
they come with the extensions, but not necessarily the package.
Okay.
The
I've
extent,
always got a computer that's had some sort of.
yeah, extensions are I think on every Windows machine now. Okay, Visual C Sharp. I'm looking for console. That one should work. Okay. I just want to show you the kind of the complete picture of what in the world is an algorithm used for.
Our algorithm, the algorithm is to calculate the values of the things you're trying to display.
It tells you generically your steps. So what should be the steps you would take to calculate this, no matter what programming language. And that's why I put in the plus plus there is actually wrong, because that's not every programming language supports plus plus. Assuming it actually finishes.
It's taking a sweet time.
My computer's going slow this morning, and I rebooted because I want to make sure that I tend to just shut my lid over and over. And I was wondering if that's why I lost the videos.
Typically you can get unsafe data from that.
Yeah, I don't know what'll happen there. Okay, now this doesn't necessarily tell you everything, but to get the values of N1 through N5, for example, we have to declare our variables. So here, assuming doubles, N1, N2, N3, N4, N5. And with that, I went on the wrong one. That's better. Line. It's either try parse or parse. I can never remember. We'll do a try parse, see if that's it. Parse. And I got 3, 4, 5. Okay. What this does right here, don't worry about it, but this is the get the values part. So that's retrieving those values. Set the value of sum to 0. Of course, you have to declare sum, but set the value of sum to 0. Sum is equal to 0. Set the value of I to 0. Well, I have to declare it. Do you see how this is guiding me exactly what to do? Actually, I think I had a 1 initially, didn't I? Let me go with the 1. Within our while loop, I'm going to do a while I is less than or equal to n, and I'm making sure if you should be that detailed in your algorithm. While I is less than or equal to n. Of course, now that I'm doing this, What do you think I have to do about in? First off, I have to declare it, right? And then I have to set it. So I didn't have that in my algorithm. But maybe it's assumed by this. I don't know. But I definitely in my program have to set in is equal to 5. And then you go from there. I'm not very good at coming up with algorithms, so this would need some tweaking before it actually worked. Um, I use what?
That's one of the harder things to do, to be honest.
I never write algorithms. I just dive right in with writing the code. But sometimes you don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do a heap sort. But if I Google heap sort algorithm, not that I can pick one that probably is good. Sometimes they put their heap sort algorithm, they don't even put an algorithm out here. And they've done a horrible job here. By doing a horrible job, they might be the best one out here. Does that seem weird? An algorithm is supposed to be very concise, where you just very little detail and you kind of guide person exactly how to do it. What they've done here is they've gone through and they define exactly what these things are. So they're going through with some definitions here. How to create a complete binary tree from an unsorted list. They've written this without any letters at a very a level where anybody can understand it. So their algorithm for this probably is about like 10 pages. Typically, your algorithm, if you go and take a computer science course, like data structures at Wichita State, the algorithm for heap sort will be about a third of a page. So, but like I said, by them being so detailed here, you probably could understand this a lot better in the algorithm you'd see that's concise. So. Yeah, a lot of my professors at Wichita State they didn't like big books. They like real thin books. Thin books, is where you're not real wordy. You don't have 10 pages to explain one process. Why do you think they would prefer to have a book that's 100 pages versus 1,000? Maybe. Depends upon what you mean by that. How many of you would read all 1,000 pages?
If I had to.
Yeah, maybe that's nice. It's there if you need it, but they're saying, well, nobody is actually ever going to read it, those 1,000 pages. Maybe one, two. They said if you can make it concise, even though it doesn't go as much detail, then people are more likely to actually use the book. I don't know. That's just their rationale.
It's sort of rationale, but at the other time it's not. But it's kind of balances stuff.
See, I could see it with the age of YouTube videos explaining this. Like if I'm trying to figure out how to do a heap sort, I'm going to Google it and start looking through videos for that. So, okay. I want to get down to the. They give you a bunch of different ways of thinking the efficiency. Sometimes when you write something inefficient, it just doesn't work right. Um, Here's a selection sort algorithms, pretty generically written, isn't it? So in case you're wondering, there isn't one way to write an algorithm. Everybody has a different view on what it should be. That goes to an example. I'm not going to sit here and read that to you. What I really want to get down to here is this part right here. Order of magnitude. I thought they would explain that. They don't in the algorithm here. Okay, let me Google it. They got this big O notation. And you saw that symbol over there, didn't you? And it's a mathematical notation that describes the limiting behavior of a function. When an argument tends toward a particular value infinity, it's a member of this. Okay. Computer science, big O notation is used to classify algorithms according to how their running time or space requirements grow as input size grows. So if you have 5 numbers you're inputting, what's the efficiency going to be? What if you increase that to 5 million? What's going to happen to your efficiency type of deal. Now, it isn't that it's important you be a genius at big O notation. But if you read something in a book and they talk about big O notation, you need to realize that that's referring to your efficiency. So that's kind of what you get out of that. The what? Oh, your computer did that?
Yeah.
Part of this doesn't make any sense unless you've had college algebra, so I'm not going to really go into. Anybody know what that symbol means? Yeah, infinity. X approaches infinity. That's something you see in college algebra, calculus. We never reach infinity, but what happens to your efficiency as it gets larger and larger? Is it still going to work? You're writing a game. It works really nice when you have 2 characters on your screen. What happens if you have 100 characters on your screen? Yeah, and that happens in some games, doesn't it? Sometimes I'll do that. I'll be going along and I won't kill the creatures, but I'll get close enough so they keep following me. Have you ever do that?
Yeah.
Until you get like a ton of characters on your screen, and some of them lag, some of them don't. It all depends on how they programmed it. That's the idea. Is when your number of characters on your screen increases, what happens to your efficiency? Is your game going to crash? Is it going to go real slow? Is it going to be efficient? We have one table that I have at Coke, the KOCH, that had 5 million records in it. Sure, every program is going to run great when it's 100 records, and that's when you're testing it, right? You're sitting in your office, and maybe you won't even have 100 records. You have 10 records in it that you created. Question is, when you put it out in production, and you have all these people updating that table, and it grows to 5 million, is it going to run efficient? There's one report that they had, and I may have talked about saving Coke $250,000.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's a wonderful story. For a while, this was my brainstorm, is I was going to improve efficiency. Now we had a mainframe. It cost us X number of dollars. I don't remember how much, but we're talking about the millions. And you leased it every month. So paid a set monthly lease. And then basically we split that amount over CPU cycles and billed it to the customers. So for example, Coke Refining had a report that would run in the middle of the night. It would take 4 hours to run and cost $500 because it's used so much CPU cycles, and they got billed that. I looked at that and I said I can improve that. So I worked on efficiency because that was that 5 million records that I was talking about. I improved the efficiency on it. I got it to run within just like a few minutes. I don't remember how many minutes. Let's say 2 minutes. And it now cost them like 50 cents or $1. So let's say $1. I don't know the exact amount on that, but it was about $500 on that. Were they happy with me? They were, and I went across the entire company doing this. Worked with a lot of different companies. Coke Hydrocarbon sent and they did an estimate, and they figured that I had saved Coke Industries $250,000 saved. I still got that memo. I didn't see that. I went to Coke Oil. They told me I did not save the company 1 penny. Because I asked them if they wanted me to improve their reporting, their processes. Why did I not save the Coke? They were right. They explained it, and they were 100% correct. And I love that because I did not save Coke Industries $250,000, even though I got that little memo that says that. It might have been 200,000, but it was either 200,000 or 250,000. Why didn't I save Coke any money? You're billing customers. Well, goes back to here. No matter what, we were paying a set monthly lease for that machine. By me reducing the cost per report, was I reducing the monthly lease? No, we were paying the same amount. All I did was by making those reports more efficient, I increased the amount they charged per CPU cycle because they had to pay $100,000, $200,000 a month no matter what. So I did not actually save Coke Industries 1 penny. They were right. They said, we'd love to have you do other work, but we don't want you looking at our reports at all. I not only did not save them 1 penny, I probably cost them about $50,000. So my savings to the company was minus $50,000 for my salary. Because that whole year I was either making these reports more efficient, I could have been doing other items, right? And assuming those other items would bring in money to the company, I probably cost Coke Industries $150,000. This is somebody who really thinks about it from a business standpoint, and that's what Coke Oil did. They said, hey, you didn't reduce our monthly lease. We're still having to pay the same amount. Consider it like this. You pay a set electrical bill each month, $100. And you replace a bunch of your devices in your house so it uses less electricity. Are you saving anything?
Not really.
No, because you're still paying that set $100, right? No matter what. So, yeah, I like Coke Oil because they had a very business mind and so forth. I kept the memo just because it was proof to show you can't just look at face value of something. You have to really think about savings, and that's what with this cost efficiency. Your big O notation, those are things you have to consider. As this increases, is that going to cost you money, time, and so forth? Effort, does it make sense to put a lot of effort into making something efficient, like in a game, where nobody's going to do what I do, have all these creatures trail you along till you get 200 of them on the screen just to see what happens? Yeah, maybe a lot of people do that. I don't know, but they do it just to screw around, right?
Yeah, more or less.
More or less to see what'll happen with the game. So is it good time to spend 3 months handling that through code? No, why bother? If they're going to try to break the game, then that's yeah. Anyway, this talks about some different algorithms. Here's how you implement the binary search. And again, if you try to follow this, then it'll guide you. I stopped this because with a while loop, I needed to put these into an array, and I didn't do that. Without a while loop, you just simply say your sum is equal to n1 plus n2 plus n3 plus n4 plus n5. Your average is going to equal to your sum divided by n. Doesn't like something there. Name average does not exist. I didn't declare it. And then I print out. Yeah. So I was trying to copy off of an algorithm that's really designed for an array. And so if you wonder why I stopped there, now if I ran this, let me just double check. Divide by n, the n is 5. I don't need I because I'm not using it now. Sum, I don't need to initialize it to 0. I could. So if I run that, of course, I didn't make it very user friendly. It's waiting for me to put numbers in, I think. There it goes. 2, 1, 5, 4, 5, 6, 11, 15. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Mostly, if you're programming, nobody sits there and writes down an algorithm for what they're doing. They just kind of will do this. Sometimes a flow chart to wrap their mind around how it should be. Algorithms are when you've got something more complex, like a heap sort. I don't think I used one algorithm the entire time I worked as a computer programmer. 13 years, never used it once. Now, did I use it when I got my bachelor's? Yeah. Because you're trying to program a bunch of different things, heap sorts, binary sorts, and so forth, so you look at algorithms. Anyway. Yeah, a little bit of time. I haven't shown you the registry, have I? In here. Registry can be a dangerous place. That's how I posed to one of my laptops in here. Still haven't got it quite fixed yet. I need to get to that. But if I come here where it says type here to search, I'm going to type regedit. When I do that, you see it comes up with the registry editor here. And you sure you want to do this? Yeah, I know it's dangerous. I won't screw it up today. Yeah. Oh, I'd be upset. You got 5 items here. The current user is settings that are specific to you. This is the entire database of everything in Windows. So every setting, every program installed, everything defined is here. So every time you install a software package, it's here. If some viruses, some malware hit your machine, you'll find traces of it here. This is sometimes how you can identify if you have an issue. Now I'm going to go into current user, so I'm going to expand that. Local machine is for everybody. So whoever signs on to it gets applied those settings. Now I expand the current user. You'll see different options here. We want to expand software. And you're going to see the different companies. I've installed Blender. You probably don't have Blender unless you installed it. So expand Blender, go to Blender. And here's, I don't know what these are. No clue. Code blocks. Code blocks. What are these? I have no clue. These are defined specific by that program. You shouldn't know what they are. Now, the people that wrote code blocks should. Now, if you're going to write a Windows program, you'll come up with your own settings and you'll decide what to put out here. So if you're looking through these and you don't understand what they are, you shouldn't understand what they are. Here's Facebook Games. Again, I couldn't tell you what a Chrome elf is. Shiny, yeah. But I'm specifically going to go down to Microsoft. If I expand Microsoft, you see there's a lot of different options here. Here's Notepad. These are the settings that go along with Notepad. Face name. If I double click that, it's Consolas. Consolas? What does that probably imply? I'm guessing a font. If I go, but again, I don't know. I didn't Notepad. If I go to Notepad here, let me go to Format Font. Consolas. So if, let's say I wanted to push out to the entire company that they no longer, we're going to use Consolas, if I'm saying that right, they're going to use Cooper. What do you think I need to change for everybody in the entire company? This value right here. And they can do that through the network. They can push out for everybody under your current user, under software, under Microsoft, under Notepad, under this value name, whatever that says, LF or IF, face name. They can change this to Cooper. Okay, let me close down my notepads. I don't know what it'll do if I got Notepad up and running. Yeah. Okay, don't save. Okay, I got Notepad down. I'm gonna double click this, maybe, and I'm gonna type Cooper. By the way, you shouldn't willy-nilly do this stuff if you don't know what these settings are. I'm pretty sure this is a font, so I feel if Notepad doesn't work after this, then I'll know. Yeah, I screwed it up. So I got a Notepad. Format, font. I'm now Cooper. So I'll forget this, and then next time I'll come in here and say, oh, look, boy, that font looks different. You boys, don't you remember you changed that last Friday? Orientation, I have no clue what that is. Sometimes you can click it and zero. What does zero mean? I don't know. The Windows position. I assume this is where the Notepad was last on the window. I don't know. What happens if I was a hacker and I pushed this out to 5,000 for everybody in the company? Nobody can see the Notepad, right? It'd be clear off on the side. Or if it's a width, then yeah, it might mess it up that way. Yeah, registry is something. If a hacker can get into this, they can really mess up for a whole lot of the world. Imagine you go into Word. If you go into the Word settings here in registry, a virus would go in and set the font size for everybody in Word to like 100 or something like that, with a maximum amount, whatever it is. Push it out, it affects all these computers. Average person knows how to set it back, right? They'll think, well, that's weird. But does everybody know how to set it back? No. You have, there's 100 old people like me. They're calling the Best Buy. It's not looking right on Word, and I can't figure out what's going on with it. Well, bring in your computer, and all of a sudden Best Buy is making $5,000 off of a virus that hit. Anyway, I have no clue what all this face. That was the only one I really identified. Okay. If I keep going down, you see a lot of different packages here. VMware Player. You may or may not have some of these. There's a Windows. There's also a Windows NT. But if I go to Windows, there's some different items. Current version. Here's a run. OneDrive runs when I sign on. I have that at home. I can't stand it because I never want to go into OneDrive at home, but somehow something I installed put it into my run folder. So at home, what I need to do is quit being lazy, bring up the registry editor, go locate this and delete it. And then it won't load it each time when I bring up my computer. Run once is when it just runs one time, and then you've had those softwares where it says reboot and then I'll finish the install. It puts something in the run once, and then it runs once and then removes it. Now, if I go back to Windows NT, Windows NT is the other one you'll see things under. I really don't understand that, to be honest. See, I don't see a run here, so I'm fine there. Now, I'm not a genius at the registry edit. People that get into the working with the machine level and networking and so forth, they really have to have a deeper understanding of this. This is how they can lock things down on your computer so you can't do things. I've gone to some, yeah, but you have to have that in-depth knowledge, and a lot of people don't have that. I've went to places before where there isn't a place here where you can run. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. They lock that down. These are all things you can configure via the registry if you know what you're doing. And if you're going into networking, I don't remember who said they were interested in that, but if you're interested in networking, that's how you push this out. And from a programming standpoint, what you do is you can take a snapshot of your registry and install your program you just wrote and notice what registry changes were made. Save those off, and then you can push them out to everybody in the company. So I can install my program that I wrote on 1,000 computers in about 10 minutes time. Much better than visiting everybody's computer individually, isn't it? Now, will it work on all of them, the install? No. It maybe will fail in 1% of them. But visiting 1% of all those computers is much better than visiting every computer. Does that generally make sense what the registry is used for? And in programming classes, we learn how to add things into the registry. And that's what I screwed up in C# last spring, is I added a key into here, but then I meant to highlight the key and press my delete key, but I had, I think I had this highlighted when I pressed delete. And there was, if there was a warning, I didn't read it. I just went ahead, yeah, sure, whatever, I know what I'm doing, and boom, 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 start deleting everything here. And when you delete every setting, nothing works, absolutely nothing. So, yeah. The smart person, before they start doing what I did, is you back this up. Like if you have that highlighted, you can do an export, and this will save off all of your settings. And so if you do screw it up, all you have to do is double click that file. It loads them all back in. So it's very easy. I just didn't do an export. Thought I knew what I was doing. Well, that's not a bad place to stop there. Make a back.